Cool. So, now that I'm all set up, I got to make sure that all my levels are good. I've got this like new thing going on today. And yeah. So, I figured I would turn these into like kind of improv lessons. I want to make sure I've got decent sound coming through. So, yeah, feel free to comment as I'm going through, but real quick, I'm just going to talk about this for yeah, a sec. And then I'm going to improvise on an idea of it. Um so yeah, it's interesting. It's like teaching a class for nobody, but also like everybody if they want to actually tune in. Um Later, because I'm actually going to start to save these now that I have some sort of direction with it. But yeah, so I'm going to use all these definitions out of the Harvard Dictionary of Music. So intervals, hmm, the relationship between two pitches, and we're going to leave it at that for right now. We split it up into 7, and my first improv, just to get people into this a little bit, is going to be on just these first 2. It's going to be on a major second, and it's going to be on a minor second. So actually, in my right hand, what I play from here on out is only going to be major and minor seconds, but I'm going to use harmony to see if I can make it sound and feel a little different. Also, comment in and let me know if like anything's too loud, anything's too soft. I feel like my voice is like present and the piano seems really far away. So I feel like this could be louder. So once again, everything I'm going to do in my right hand is just going to be seconds. Whoops. So once again, everything I'm playing here is just seconds in this top note here. Either major or minor. Lindsay, I've been seeing what you're doing on Facebook now. Keep going, girl. Sorry, it's really tough. I'm giving myself this restriction to only play seconds, and it's like really tricky. Because I want to leap away to something. I want to go like doo, doo, but I'm not doing that here. I'm just going to do seconds and show what you can do with this interval, and then I'll move on to something else like thirds. But I'm going to be able to change the harmony, because otherwise it's going to be all like... All right. So basically, when I'm just going up and down, I'm just making different scales. So these are the smallest two. We've got major and minor seconds, but they're the teeniest little interval that Western ears especially can actually distinguish as like, oh, that's something that I recognize. That's something I've heard before, and I've like codified that. I've put that in my brain in a certain way. Like everything you hear, generally, unless you're like listening to quarter tonal stuff, which, I mean, if you've got some, let me know. I'm into it. But then we start to get a little bit bigger. We go from steps into leaps. We make some thirds happen. So this one, oh, this is going to be rough. I'm going to see if I can improvise just using major and minor thirds. And once again, I'm not talking about chord qualities here. I'm talking about just the intervallic space of the melody that I'm creating. So if the major and minor seconds were all this do 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 do, the thirds are going to be that one larger. I still feel like the piano is super soft. Could you It's funny, I made the words bigger so that I could see it. So I literally started reading it and then like got to the end there, and actually the rest of, hold on, I gotta change that. Otherwise, Swan's gonna be trolling me the whole time. There we go. Trolls. Oh, now I can't see the rest of it here. All right. Thirds jam. And actually, oh, I know what I can do. Oh, that's much better. My own thing was down. Smidgen achieved. Let's see. That's a fourth. Minor third, major third, major third, minor third. Kind of sounds like that Radiohead tune. Ready? If you know what I'm talking about. So knives out. That's not the harmony at all, but I never know the words. So the two smallest, and what we call the number just the generic. So the number is just the generic interval. It's the, are you going a second? I don't know which one it's going to be until you add the quality into it. So we've got minor seconds, major seconds. Now we have a quality. Now we have an idea that we can put it into a deeper category. We can understand it even more. We can make a more intimate relationship with that interval. So what I'm going to do now, and you'll notice maybe there's some different colors up here. I don't know, well, you can see it. It's kind of a little bit of a glare, but hopefully you can actually make out what's put up here. The red are going to be the major intervals, and the blue are going to be the minor intervals. So I think very much so if music is brightening and darkening. So when we play something, I've like darkened the tone a little bit. Like the sun's coming back out. Now this kind of sounds like a different Radiohead. But absolutely, so much of what I do when I'm improvising is thinking of music as, am I brightening or am I darkening? There is no just dim neutral. You know what I mean? Just like with these intervals, there's major and minor. There is no like neutral. Well, actually, you could make a case for the perfects, but we're not going to go there. Similar with dynamics. Like if there's mezzo forte and mezzo piano, that's medium loud and medium soft. There is no just medium. You're always on one side or the other. So whenever you're playing music, you're going somewhere. You've got a destination that you're trying to get to, which is why if you ever there's sometimes like and you're listening and you feel like it's just been kind of like riding here for a long while and you're like, okay, I get it. What's the destination? Where are you taking me? Where are you going? Are you bringing it up? Are you taking it back down? So if I were to just sit here and go like, this is kind of cool. But where's it going? Now it has a little bit direction. But now my phrase is bigger. I remember. It's really easy to get sidetracked doing this free. I'm gonna get that. Much more direction now. I do remember what I was talking about before, but this tune's great. So yeah, the phrases get bigger as you add other parts to the song. So like I was saying before, if I was just to go on its own, it lays a foundation. There's a bed. I wish we would have been way more famous. But there's a foundation. So if I want to go, now you have an expectation. Now where am I going to go? But I didn't go there, right? I went somewhere else. I subverted your expectation. Oh, there's so many things I want to talk about with what's going on with what I'm playing, because I had the reason I'm doing it in this kind of like new format. I like figured out the whole microphone. Actually, this like feels really nice, you know, to kind of level up a little bit in the world. But it's because when I was doing those other live feeds, I had a few people. I know, right? I had a few people reaching out to me, being like, "Hey, can we get some lessons?" And I was like, "Yes." well, initially I was like, well, I'm no longer up north. I'm down in Florida. But then my thought was like, yeah, how about I do these in like more of a lesson format? So, oh, it's funny. I tried to make a post about it because I was working on all this. I'm going to see if I can play while talking about this so that you're not just listening to the sound of my voice. I tried to make a post about this, that I was going to do these at 10:45, and I was I hit post and realized I posted it just to myself. I was a little embarrassed, but that's okay because I figured out what the problem was. But yeah. So, back to my intervals. We had major seconds, major thirds, minor seconds, minor thirds. Literally the distance between these notes. Boop, 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 bop, boop, bop. Minor second, minor third, major third. And a really good way to get these in your ear if you're not thinking about it in a scalar context, so like that whole, is to think of tunes that use these. Like a minor second, you will always know. Everyone can. If you don't know what I'm playing, you need to see that movie. And major seconds are all over the place, and it's that one step bigger. Like, for example, if I was to take that same idea that I just did, but go, no, nah, dude. You're screwing with me. That's not Jaws. Yeah, because Jaws has that, like, what is it? Something like that. It's I don't know. It's actually really weird. But yeah. So think of tunes that have these intervals as sizes. There's actually there's a website. I forget what it is. It's like interval tune generator. So you can actually go on. I know, right? So you can go on and like type in the intervals and it'll give you like a list of tunes and you're like, oh, I know that tune. I can use that. Or figure these out for yourself. Like if you, what does that sound like? Oh, when the saints go marching in. That's a tune that generally people in Western culture know. So just use that tune. Or like I always like hearing that difference between the minor and the major with what I was doing before. That Radiohead tune, Knives Out. By the way, Radiohead has like every single one of these. Like, sorry, I'm gonna just pour my love for Radiohead out right now. But so Knives Out. You hear that brightening? Catch the mouse. So we go from dark to bright in there because the harmony is changing because our minor intervals are turning into major intervals, and it's like we're like lifting this thing up. So we've got the red and the blue, but I also have purple here. I don't know if you can actually see the colors here. I'm not saying that you're colorblind, but it's a little far away and there's a little bit of a glare. So we call these perfect because, simply put, oh yeah, crunchy peas. There we go. We call these perfect because if I play this and I was to ask you, is this a major chord or a minor chord? You have no idea. You might have put an idea in your head, maybe from what I was playing before, but if I just put one note, it's like the sun just came out. Now it's behind a little cloud. Oh, it came back. This is great. I'm looking at palm trees outside. The sun is now. is the one thing about, I used to play like solo piano all the time, and I got really good at just doing that like little rubato thing. Then a UFO shows up. I know, like, this is the congrats you just beat the video game music. No, that's a. I forget where it goes. That's this like dun. Oh, I've got to figure this out now. There it is. If you recognize that, you grew up in the same era I did. All right. By the way, that's the end of Super Mario World's closing credits. Yo, these chords actually are super thick. If you go back and listen to that, it's like. You're like, yeah, I just beat the game. That is exactly what that music is telling me. Sorry. I love this. I have like my overall topic that whenever I go on a complete tangent, I'm just like, oh, I can come back and just be like, oh yeah, fourths. So, big thing about fourths. If you're a jazz lover, you're listening to jazz. McCoy Tyner, may he rest in peace. One of the greats, one of the absolute greats. A lot of his voicings that he does in his left hand is like. Just uses fourths. It's like a lot of perfect fourths. I mean, he'll definitely change that around because the dude was at least super versatile. But if you do just like literally these types of voicings, these are just fourths. Play for a little moment on these first 5, so everything up until the 5th. And also, if you have questions, feel free to like ask me afterwards or post it in the chat, maybe about intervals or about the way that I'm approaching them. But let's see. I'm just gonna do the whole like start from one note jam and see where it goes. I've been doing a lot of C. How about B flat? You might also notice I sing a lot when I play. That's because when you sing, kind of. The thing about giant steps is it goes in thirds. The harmonic motion is in major thirds. Once again, right now, I'm just like riding here. later one of these, I'm going to focus more on borrowed chords. Thanks. Yeah. Sarah and I took like so much time yesterday, like basically the day yesterday, to like clean the crap out of this room, and it looks so nice now. It's actually a nice place to be. It's a nice place to play music, and I spent time to figure out how to get this view set up. So you're welcome. And once again, I set up the expectation for these chords now, so if I don't change something and I just cycle through these, we'll get this kind of stasis effect. Like, where am I going? What's next? If this is the A section, what's B? I sing with a lot of the melodies that I play because I want to make sure it's actually what's coming right out of my head. Back to what I was doing before. Thanks, Zach. Yes. If y'all don't know who that is, you should. His approach to music is actually, like, if I may, ridiculous. I watched an interview with him. He was talking about the way he perceives the rhythm of this one piece, and I was like I'm spending my life like studying the deep webs of music, and Tigran Hamasamon, he lost me in like 10 seconds. I was like, where is your head? But whenever I play, especially when I'm doing all this weird, like I'm not just doing like do 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 do. When I'm playing outside of a key, like even when I play that, you feel this is coming back to that home bass. You have a lot of leeway in there to use different chords that can give it different colors. You can take that same melody and you can screw around with it. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. If there's perfect pitch, is there perfect rhythm? But yeah, I sing with these, and I think within like kind of micro scalar ideas, like I'm like, oh, here I'm in C major, but I also can think just purely intervallically because I've like poured these things into my ear. Now I'm not saying that I have perfect pitch and I can like pick out like random like, oh yeah, that's a minor 13th and that's a, but I work to give my brain contexts to put those in. So if I take the scalar context out of it, or if we think in solfege, which I'm going to do another lesson on at some point, D, I don't want that D because then that would be do, mi, fa, fi, sol, me, re, te, la, le, sol, ti, do, ra, do. Any tips for bass notes? I forget what it's called, but those stacked slash chords. Yeah. So for example, that's actually a really good question. I'm going to address that more in like a harmony thing because I'm actually going to wrap up this idea and like give you a slight amount more of information. But what he's talking about with slash chords is like, let's say I want to play an F major. Sounds cool. I'm going to throw that capital M7 on there, give it a little bit more depth. Ooh, yeah, that's the stuff. And then I'm going to throw another tone up here. I'm going to throw the 9 up here, the major 9, and now I've got this big F major 9. But what if I don't want to have this like grounding at the bottom, and I want it specifically to have another note down here? You would actually write F major 9 slash or over A. So you can have this kind of like, you can diversify the sound of it, or over C. And what I'm doing is I'm just changing the bass note. Actually, this would be a really crunchy one, over the E. And they have different pulls. When you change that inversion, they have different tensions that they want to go to. Because you're changing the interval between the lowest bass note and the root of the chord, where that chord feels really stable. So if you get familiar with all those different types of inversions, you can have a lot more fluidity over your harmony, and your melodies can, I know, right? And that was all just triads. I'm not throwing like sevens or anything in there. You can, and there I'm changing scales as well. But all of that comes down to hearing these different intervals. If you can, it's kind of like if you have like a bowl of rice, you have a bowl of rice. How many ricelets does it take to have a bowl of rice? That's a ridiculous question. But it's also like, if you have like 10 little sprinkles of rice in there, is that a bowl of rice? I guess technically, but we don't think of it that way. That analogy really missed the mark, didn't it? But in any event, it's like if you have this scale of like however many notes, 7 notes if we're having a diatonic scale. Do you recognize all the intervals in there? Major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, perfect octave. If you know those, you can also work around them. Thundercat has a cool thing where he talked about that in an interview. I'm leading to that major second. Do, di, ra, re. You can't write B. Dan Townsend on sheet music. I mean, you could, but you know. How about this? Everything I play in my right hand top note is going to be in a C major scale, but I'm going to use borrowed chords to give it some spiciness. I'm going to give the fried rice a little bit of curry powder, some turmeric, and Sammy can tell you more about that on her channel. Oh, I almost wanted to step out. I'm going to do it. just to do that little sidestep. Oh, it's another really cool idea. If you've got a destination that you're going to, and you want to get there, but you want to spice it up right before you get there, you just do a little, hit them with a little sidestep. You play exactly the same chord, half step above or below, and you get this kind of like really dope jazzy sound. Because you have this destination you're going to. You're not just standing on this like same level playing field. And I'm not knocking or dissing like totally diatonic, like this song is in the key of C. But I just like those sounds. Like it instantly is like, oh, that sounds like way more dope. You use those inversions, you change the interval between the bass and the root of the chord. It's a new chord. It's a new chord voicing. Yeah. Your side pony becomes the main pony. Little Lake Street Dive reference there. Oh my god. I haven't even finished this out, and there's actually one more in here. Boop boop boop. Nope, that's not pie. Although it kind of looks like it. Pie in the morning. Yum. The way that we hear, this is the total amount of intervals that we can actually get into, like the way that we actually hear. So there are other types of intervals. We have diminished intervals, we have augmented intervals. But the thing is, when we're listening, the diminished and augmented really means that it has a different pull. It's got a different place that it's trying to take your ear. So we actually call it something different, right? There's both a theoretical and an aural, like listening aspect to that. So if I was to play like a minor sixth, right? So I'm playing the blue six boy. That's because it wants to, that A flat, C A flat wants to go down. One way to view all these would just be to literally start at a note and be like minor second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, augmented fourth or diminished fifth. That's that tritone, the little guy in the center there, like that YYZ tune. Yeah, I'm done with that. Or Simpsons. Those are ways that you can put these in your ear once again. And then as we build these and give them a further context, so if the intervals are this would be scales. So you actually like bump out your understanding of how these fit together and you put them in a context to listen to them next to each other. But that minor sixth, it wants to resolve down. Well, it'll be the same thing as an augmented fifth. It wants to resolve up. Yep. Maria, I just met a girl named Maria. And that's West Side Story. It's also Sorry, a song from Zelda. Yo, hot take. I never actually played the Zelda 64, the ocarina. You can get mad at me if you want. Or no, I think you're talking about the minor sixth. It could be. But for the end here, oh, you know what I can do? I'm going to slow it down, but I'm going to say the interval that I'm playing. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be an exercise. I've been sticking a lot with C. Let's make E, Do. Do. It's a major second. Major second, minor third. Do. Major second, minor third to there, minor second. Major second, minor third, major second, stay there. Stay there. Ooh, major seven, ooh, stay there. Major second, stay there. Major, minor, major. But let's turn that chord minor. There's too much that I want to show you with being able to improvise as well. By the way, I'm trying to like iron out these lesson ideas as I go. So the format of this may change over time. Oh, that's spicy. But I'm just glad I got the mic set up and all that. These are major seconds away. This is the pause screen in like a really serene video game. Then you got Mech Boss. So yeah, I wanted to give an overview of this, and I'm going to see what I can do to build all of this up. Go from one to the next. But for right now, and I hate leaving it so like kind of by rote if you're trying to practice to this, like the idea of going minor second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, tritone, perfect fifth, minor sixth, minor seventh, major seventh, perfect octave. But this is a good starting point. I think next time I'll talk about solfege, and then we'll start to put it together in scales. I'm just gonna improvise for a little bit now, and we're gonna do that. Jonathan friggin' Terry. But I'm gonna end it here. Love y'all. I got some stuff to do. I'm gonna chip away at this. I'm gonna see what I can do to really dig in to these topics a little bit more and play more, speak more, play more, everything more, talk less, play more, always play more. AJT, oh, I am safe. I am staying very safe. I hope you're staying safe as well. Be good to yourself, be good to others. Quarantines for quarantines. But take care, y'all.